Hey guys, this is Illusion Podfics. We're going to be reading Spider-Man Reborn by Reborn. This is Chapter 14. Peter has been living between the manor and his mom's condo, splitting his time between houses so Peter was never left alone. He wouldn't mind it if his dad was waiting for him at home, but he wasn't. So Peter minded. He hated going back to the manor and seeing pictures of his dad. He hated seeing his dad's chair or the door to his study. The house felt too big without his dad's presence. Without him there. He still hated Pickles, too. Mom! Peter sprinted out of his room, two cats chasing after him now. He scrambled up the couch where his mom sat with Dr. Isley. Pickles is trying to eat me again! Come here, kitten. His mom scooped him onto her lap, waving her hand at the orange cat that joined them. The gray one, Peanut, followed quickly. Peanut was his mom's newest cat. He was nice, but he tended to try and bite Peter's toes if he didn't wear socks. Sometimes Peanut would chase Pickles away from Peter, so he didn't hate the new cat as much. Still, his toes won't survive the week. Neither will he if he's fending off two cats nearly every day. He hoped Tim would find his dad soon. Cats can't eat people. I'm sure Selena feeds them enough to dissuade that particular habit, Dr. Isley consoled, smiling behind her tea. Peter only pouted. The green woman always found it funny when Peter ran for his life from Pickles. She would make a pretty good rogue if she wanted to. Then feed them, Mom. He's gonna eat me. Peter patted his mom's shoulder, drawing her attention back to him. Her smile was soft, but Peter could still see the worry. She's been worried since Mr. Kent showed up. Peter knows why she is, but no one will accept the fact that Peter knows. They pretend like everything will be fine, that his dad was just late. Tim had faith. He was looking, and he promised to find him. Peter promised himself to believe it, too. Why couldn't his dad come home like everyone else? If anything, Peter knew Tim wouldn't lie to him. Tim would find him. Until then, Peter watched his mom and his siblings try to pretend it's okay for him. I already did, Kat. They just want to play. Why don't you join us, okay? Peter sighed, settling into her lap more. He'd rather hang out with Cass and Steph. Steph tries to keep Peter happy, so she drags him into pranks. Messing with Dick and Damien was fun, but Tim never sleeps, and Peter can only sneak so many sleeping pills in his water before Alfred hides them out of his reach. Fine. Peanut joins him on his mom's lap, curling up with his little head on Peter's stomach. Peter focuses on him, rubbing his furry ears while his mom and Dr. Isley talk. His mom had been teaching him how to break locks and map burglaries. She won't let him join her, though. Peter doesn't want to be a thief either. Knowing this, however, will help him more as a vigilante. If he can just convince her to train him to fight, he can start protecting them. Are we going to have a funeral? Peter crawled into his mom's bed in her condo. Peanut followed him, and thankfully, Peter managed to slam the door before Pickles could join them. Tim had disappeared to look for his dad, and Peter continued to believe in him. Tim promised he would be back within a week, with either a lead or his dad. Peter wasn't sure what he was expecting to find, but he could only hope. He wished and hoped and cried with the burning need to see his dad again, but it hurt. It hurt to see his family move on and accept his dad was gone. What if he isn't? What if Tim brings him home? What if his dad's changed? He couldn't stop hoping, if only for Tim. Oh, kitten. He let himself be pulled to her side, his arms tucked to his chest. Don't worry about that for now. Tomorrow, Peter is turning 6. Tomorrow will be his first birthday without his dad, and still, only Tim believes he'll be back. Dick doesn't believe it. Steph tries. She talks about running to Africa and how his dad could have gone too, that maybe he could still come back, but her eyes never agree with her words. Damien has given up. He follows Dick now and accepts the disappearance. Parker luck caught up to him. It caught up to him, and there's only a slim chance he could escape it. The chance weighed heavily on Peter's hope. Tim said he'd been right before, so if he believed it hard enough, then maybe his dad will be back. Maybe he will come home. Peter doesn't want to grow up without him. He's done it before with a smaller family, and he doesn't want to face it again. He can't lose anyone else. Jason still hasn't come back yet. And maybe Peter has to accept that Parker luck took him too soon. Peter's curse couldn't avoid everyone forever, but maybe, just maybe, if he believes. He fell asleep to his mom's quiet singing. Her fingers glided through his hair as she curled around him. Peter was old enough to sleep alone, but he couldn't. He still couldn't until everyone was back. So Peter was with his mom. hugging her hand close as he fell asleep. His dreams weren't much of an escape. Memories of before came back in the night. Queen's skyline glistened like a fresh painting. Tall buildings reached for the sky as birds took flight from the lonely rooftops. Windows flickering as shadows passed through them, the city alive in the smallest of places. The buildings twinkled like stars at night, while the sky hid theirs from the citizens below. He dreamt of an older body flipping through the air and diving into the streets, of fighting criminals and helping old ladies get home, of a family waiting for him, 9 figures standing before a large manor with smiles on their faces as he landed before them. Peter dreamt of being a vigilante, or fighting for others, and of losing so many more. He saw Aunt May again in the ruins of a building, her stomach soaked with blood as she clutched his hands in hers. With great power comes great responsibility. Peter woke to his mom holding him, rocking him on the bed as he cried into her shoulder. He missed them so much. He missed Aunt May, and Uncle Ben, and Ned, and MJ. He missed Jason, and his dad. He didn't want to be 6 without them. Peter held his mom's hand as they entered Wayne Manor. Alfred welcomed them back before Dick ran to scoop him up. Peter yelped, clinging onto his brother's shoulders as the floor disappeared from him. "Happy birthday, Poissard! You're getting so big!" Dick crowed, bouncing him in his arms. "You saw him yesterday, Wonder Boy," his mom spoke, smiling as she greeted the others. "Pete was 5 yesterday. It's been a whole year now," Dick grinned. Peter squirmed, kicking at his brother before he was finally released to the floor. He couldn't wait till he was big enough to be left on his feet. No, he didn't. He loved heights too much, and he loved being so close to them. Peter joined Cass's side, taking her hand in his. She smiled down at him, and Peter couldn't hold back the grin. It was his 2nd birthday with Cass home. Cass led him to the boring room. The weather turned colder earlier this year, making them celebrate inside now. Peter bounced along, excited for the cake. Usually, everyone had their parties in the garden. It was big enough so everyone could mingle, spread out, and play games without running into others. Peter had asked for his party to only be his family this year. He didn't want to meet his dad's friends without his dad there. Balloons and streamers were everywhere. Peter gaped at the room they entered. It looked like a party store threw up there. Some balloons stuck to the walls, floated on the ceilings, or bounced along the floor. Titus, Damien's new pet, gnawed on a balloon from the floor. The puppy couldn't dig his teeth in it yet, but he still tried. There were streamers hanging everywhere like vines. Multicolored paper tickled his head from even the doorway. The large cake sat in the middle of the coffee table. Presents piled on another table brought in. "Do you like it?" Dick grinned, flipping into the room. "I helped decorate." Master Dick took full creative license with the decorations, I'm afraid. "It looks great," Peter giggled. The room was a mess, but he loved it anyway. Besides, Peter really only cared about being surrounded by family. As long as they were there, he could care less about the decor. Peter started 1st grade with his mom at his side. The school looked the same as last year, but the faces weren't as familiar. He recognized his classmates well enough, but the teachers looked different and new. He wasn't entering the building from the kindergarten side anymore. His dad had an entire file on his classmates and teachers that Peter skimmed through, but he didn't have that this year. His dad wasn't around to compile lists and run a background check on his 6-year-olds. "You don't know my teacher?" Peter turned to his mom, hoping she'd give him a rundown on them. "Her name is Miss Sweeney, kitten. I'm sure you'll love her." His mom petted his head, crouching down for a hug. Peter returned it, feeling worried about the new year. "Your teacher is Mr. James. A few parking tickets, but otherwise clean. Let me know if he says or does anything odd, chum." Did Miss Sweeney have parking tickets? Tim says it would be odd if they have nothing at all. Mr. Tasha says to always presume they're hiding something. Peter straightened his shoulders back and raised his chin before walking towards the building. He can do this. Peter Wayne Cowell can handle 1st grade. Peter Parker has already passed all of this before. He can do this. "I'm never going back," Peter groaned into the pillow. Alfred picked him up from school while his mom was at work, leaving him to the mercy of his siblings. Peter keeps forgetting she has an actual job. "It can't be that bad," Steph teased, tossing another kernel at his head. "Everyone looks at me weird." "Ignore them." "You ignore them," Peter huffed, apologizing afterwards. His classmates looked at him like he was an alien. No, Superman is an alien, and he probably doesn't get looked at like that. The older kids kept asking him about his dad, and he hated it. I don't want to go back. Maybe Peter could just test out. He was smart enough to graduate middle school if he really tried. His mom wouldn't allow it, and he doubted he could even try without her. You are a Wayne. Perhaps act like one, Damien offered as he entered the room with Dick. Hey now, baby bat, there's no way to act like a Wayne, Dick laughed, ruffling his hair. Peter watched the interaction curiously. Damien didn't stab Dick. He tried stabbing Peter last time he tried it. Dick dropped into the couch beside Peter, lifting the younger boy to create more space for Damien. Peter crawled into his lap, kicking his feet onto Damien's legs as he sat down. He grinned when Damien didn't push them away. He was really softening up to them now. Peter is the blood son, as am I, yet he still behaves like a child, Damien scoffed, still prickly before sighing. Should any child continue to pester you, merely direct them to me for any questions that they may have. You act like an adult, Peter stuck his tongue out, dodging back when Damien swatted at him. He smiled at the offer from Damien either way. His brother had definitely already scared off most of his own classmates. Dick laughed, taking Damien's wrist in hand as Cass tossed a blanket over them. Peter was quick to snag it before Damien could. The tradition of movie night after a tiring day stood strong as Steph finally returned with a new bowl of popcorn. He didn't need to act like a Wayne. Peter needs to act like Spider-Man. Dick has been trying to keep everyone happy. He watched after Damien, even got him a puppy, which Peter tried not to be jealous over. He sat with Peter and pretended to be interested in the science books he wanted to read. Dick took the girls out shopping and dragged Tim to bed when he stayed up late. Peter watched his brother drink wine with his mom, talking late into the night. He watched the bags under his eyes grow as he tried to help everyone. Here's the cookie. Peter shoved the batch he just helped Alfred make towards his eldest brother. Dick sat on the couch with files splayed out across the table. A cup of coffee sat untouched, just within his reach. That's more than one cookie, Poisson, Dick chuckled, taking one before handing another to Peter. Peering around his brother, Peter noted the lack of Alfred. He ate a few already when he helped, so Alfred would definitely disapprove of this. But he wasn't here. Peter nibbled on it while studying the file Dick left open. A missing persons case, 34-year-old Haley Duncan. There was one picture with a few CCTV shots on the other pages. Peter plucked a chocolate chip that broke away from his cookie before eating it. He grinned at Dick's face. Don't eat something off the floor, bud. Dick leaned back, sighing heavily. I have to get some lead on this before I take a break. Why don't you put on a movie? We can watch it together. You'll be working, he whined, snatching the file before his brother could close it. Dick moved to take it back, but Peter was quicker, sprinting out of the room just as his brother gave chase. He laughed, hearing Dick's feet hitting the ground behind him. He wouldn't climb the stairs fast enough, so Peter detoured past them, pushing past the startled Alfred as he ducked around a corner. He raced for the bathroom, where he slammed the door shut, locking it as Dick pounded on the door. Peter! Bud, those papers are important. I promise, no work while we watch the movie, okay? Dick called, knocking on the door as Peter climbed under the sink towards the vent. Being the smallest in the family had its perks. Nope, Peter giggled, unscrewing the screws before removing the vent cover. He could barely see any dust, which was a real testament to Alfred's cleanliness. He crawled inside a second later as the doorknob jiggled. Dick would take a minute before he broke in. Alfred didn't approve of lock-picking any door within the manor, and would definitely intervene if Dick tried in his presence. Peter grinned, crawling through the vent with the file in hand. He took a few turns, recalling the layout of the house as he went. He only needed to get out in a different space from Dick before he could actually look at the file himself. Maybe if he helped solve the case, Dick could relax for a bit. Peter crawled past a few more rooms before finding the best opening to escape from. He couldn't recall exactly which room this led out to, but it was far enough from the bathroom for Dick to notice. He pushed on the vent with both hands before switching to kicking it out. This vent was still screwed in and would not be opened by Peter's limited strength. Maybe he should have gotten a screwdriver before climbing in. He couldn't go back to the bathroom without being caught by Dick. Would he even be able to reach the screws from inside? What are you doing? Damien's voice called, his green eyes peering into the vent. Damie, can you let me out, please? Peter cheered. He wasn't trapped after all. Damien sighed, disappearing from view for a moment before he returned. Peter waited excitedly as his brother loosened the vent to free him. Richard is looking for you. I assume this is for the file you have? Yeah, I'm a finder for him. Want to help? Peter nodded, noticing he accidentally crawled right into his dad's office. The room was as clean as it was when he was here, everything in its place and no dust in sight. He's been avoiding this room since Mr. Kent came by. Why are you in here? I have my reasons. Hand it over. Damien took the file as Peter climbed into his dad's chair. The room felt weird without his dad inside it. Peter never entered the room alone. He had no reason to. He studied the frames on his dad's desk, a Christmas picture of them, his mom and dad, Alfred and Dick, Jason and Peter, in the May room with their Christmas sweaters on. There were others of each of his siblings, all smiling or in the middle of some trouble. Peter smiled at the one where he and Tim had made a pillow fort and his dad walked into it. I will help you. There is no need to cry. Damien sighed, pushing the chair Peter sat in aside to turn the computer on. Dad's smiling. Peter pointed at the frames, his dad's smile beaming out at them. Damien stayed silent, staring back at those photos before returning his focus to the screen with a near-silent hum. His dad will be okay. Tim will find him. Peter believed it. He had to. He'll see his dad smile again. Come on, Ketten, his mom called as Peter leapt over the couch. Pickles chased after him as he made a break for it when she opened the door. Peter rushed past her quickly, ducking around her legs as the orange monster followed him. He heard a loud meow as his mom caught Pickles. Breathing a sigh of relief, he dropped to the ground where he stood. He couldn't wait to go back to the manor this weekend. Where are we going? Peter took the offered hand as he was lifted back to his feet. He fell into step quickly, joining his mother as they left the condo. He only just got home from school, so leaving so soon was a little strange. He barely changed out of his uniform before he was called out again. Alfred called. He has a surprise for you. Peter bounced in his seat the entire drive there. On one hand, it could be a new kill that Alfred decided to bring home for once. On the other hand, maybe Jason was back, or his dad. Peter knew better than to hope for the impossible, but Steph came back. If she could come back, then so could they. Slow down, Kit, he heard his mom laugh as he raced to the front door when they finally arrived. Alfred, as always, opened the door just as Peter reached it. He barely managed to shout a greeting before rushing past him into the entry hall. He could hear conversation coming from the boring room, so Peter beelined straight there. His mom's heels clacked against the ground behind him with Alfred's much more muted footsteps. Daddy! Bruce Wayne sat on the couch, Tim and Dick on either side of him. He looked tired, but he was whole. Peter flew leaping over Titus as his dad caught him. You're alive! You're back! Peter wrapped his arms around his dad's neck so tightly. He was so afraid that this was a dream. If he let go, would he disappear? What happened? Why was he so late? Peter wanted to yell at him, but he didn't want to chase his dad away either. I'm back, chum. His dad's warm hand cradled his head, holding him close. The others were quiet as they reunited. I didn't mean to scare you. Peter could hear the apology there. His dad didn't mean to go missing. No one does. Don't leave me again, Peter pulled back, pointing his finger at his dad like his mom does at times. You scared me, and I didn't like it. Pickles keeps trying to eat me, and you gotta protect me. Until I can protect you. Peter hoped he could still train with Damien in secret with his dad back. It was hard enough when Damien moved in with Dick, but now he should be back home, and everyone else will be too. I'll keep you safe, Peter. His dad pulled him close again, his lips set in a hard line. Peter ignored it in favor of the offered hug. His dad was back, and that's all that mattered. With his dad back home, Peter was safe from Pickles' attacks. At least until his parents have another big fight. Thankfully, Titus was not as eager to eat Peter. Throwing the ball again, Peter watched the Great Dane puppy chase after it, his gray tail wagging quickly. Dick had gotten Titus for Damien a month after the dad disappeared. Peter had heard him talking to Alfred about socialization, though he thinks Dick knew that Damien likes animals and would do better with them than meeting new kids. Titus, Damien called his dog to heel as he walked towards Peter. Father has discovered our training and wishes to speak with you. Oh no, Peter groaned before getting off the grass. His dad will ground him again. Damien stayed out in the garden, so Peter made his way back to the study alone. Since his dad came back, Tim had fled back to the Titan's tower after a fight over the company. Tim wanted to stay on, helping run it, while his dad wanted him back in school. So, of course, his brother decided to run to his other team to avoid him. Peter wished he didn't go away so soon. He didn't want anyone to leave Gotham without him again. No one listened to him, and Tim still left after promising to call once a week. It wasn't enough. Peter, his dad called him in after Peter knocked. I hear Damien has been training you to fight. I made him teach me. Peter stood by the chairs facing his dad. I want to protect you too. I don't need protection. His dad pushed the chair back, crouching in front of him instead. I'm supposed to protect you. You left. We thought you were dead. Dad, I have to fight so I can protect you and Dick and Tim and... I get it. Peter stopped, really looking at his dad. He had faint smile lines now, but his eyes looked so sad. So haunted. I understand why you want to, Chum. I do, but I'm not ready for you to train yet. Can you wait a few years? Until you're older? What if you get hurt now? Peter frowned, not wanting to wait. He wasn't grounded yet, but his dad would stop Damien from teaching him anything if he wanted to. His dad sighed, picking Peter up as he went towards the couch. Peter waited until they were seated to stand back up so he was taller than his dad for once. Blue eyes looked up at him as warm hands took his. I have the others with me. I will be fine, Peter. His dad pulled him down again to sit on the couch. You're still too young, and it scares me to think of you out there already. Just wait a little longer, please. Promise me you'll wait. He couldn't promise that. Peter will just have to learn differently. He just has to be more careful from now on. He can practice alone for now, until he can convince any of his siblings again. Instead of answering, Peter hugged his dad. Maybe they both knew it was fruitless. Peter was the son of Batman as much as he was the son of Bruce Wayne. Peter will always strive to be Spider-Man and protect people. He just has to prepare for it. If he has to wait, then he won't wait idly for the time his dad was ready. Peter has been ready for years now. He'll just have to be more careful. Alright guys, and that is the end of chapter 14 of Spider-Man Reborn by Reborn. I hope you guys like this chapter, and I'll see you in the next one.